Proudly sponsored by Total Quartz Lubricants.
Of week 3.
The Total Dakar Rally, where the streets have no name, the signs are written in the sand. Only on Supersport. Proudly sponsored by Total Quartz Lubricants.
At long last, the Dakar Rally back in action. They're not yet quite back on course. The airlift over Niger, complete to the satisfaction of all. In Libya then, from Sabah all the way to Wa El Kabir, a shortened day of 146 kilometers. So Niger missing out on the Dakar due to a terrorist threat. Libya, a new starting point on the way to the pyramids. This was how the route map was supposed to look today. Not a bit of it. Much shorter, much quicker. Action, as always, dramatic. Well, surprisingly, after a 4-day break, troubles even before the start of Juan Roma. Electrical difficulties. 1.5 hours it took them to find the fault. He was panicking. Well, they did get him underway at the start, and he had a fine day, finishing second, finally, behind his teammate, Kindergartner. Here's the boss of the KTM team, as he's known, finishing the day at an average speed of just over 152 kilometers an hour. He was quick. He was the winner, ahead of Roma, who crucially finished in front of Sainz and Jimmy Lewis. Sainz desperate to close the gap over Roma, trailing 23 minutes overall at the restart. He just couldn't catch the KTMs on this day. Jimmy Lewis trying his best to help out in support of Sainz. He, though, fourth on the day, ahead of Meyer and Alfie Cox. On 4 wheels, Spotney took the day for Mitsubishi. They had hoped Shinazuka would finish well clear of Schlesser. It wasn't to be. Fast it most certainly was. The top 10 all finishing within the hour. It was close at the top. Spotney ahead of Delaverne, Kleinschmidt, Demervius. Then came Servia and Peter Hansel in the Mega. Peter Hansel third overall. Crucially, the men in front of him were stuck together. Shinazuka seventh fastest, ahead of Jean-Louis Schlesser. Schlesser desperate to overtake, couldn't manage it in the dust and the high-speed conditions. He finished 55 seconds behind Shino, who stays top, 7 minutes and 10 clear of Schlesser. Leg 12, race day number 8. And finally, the Dakar back on course from Wa El Kabir to Waha, a special stage of 657 kilometers. Well, what a day, what a time of mixed fortunes behind Kindergarten. Just a day after victory, he flew through the air, crashing badly at 160 kilometers an hour, fracturing his femur just below the pelvis and seriously damaging ligaments in his wrist. The Dakar once again, all over prematurely for Kindergarten. Well, out in front, the battle raging, of course, was between Sainz and Roma. Roma was not pushing too hard. He waited for Sainz. They played cat and mouse throughout the day. Roma saying, why push it when you've got a lead of over 20 minutes? As for Sainz, well, he certainly wasn't going to lose Roma on this day. And at these speeds, it would have proved dangerous indeed. So the battle for top spot was won by Alfie Cox. He started at the back of the field at the restart. He had something to prove, and he did just that on this day. Cox finishing ahead of Meyer by 1 minute and 8 seconds. It was very tight at the top 15 all within the hour. A trio of BMWs led by Jimmy Lewis. It was Sainz and Gallardo who were alongside him. Further behind Gallardo was Roma. He said, why on earth should I push it on such a dangerous day? when he had so much time in hand at the top. Roma, 22 minutes clear of Sainz in the overall classification. The longest special of the Dakar so far, living up to expectations. Fontenay underlining his position in 4th place overall with a fine drive. For those buggies, they were winding them in one by one. Kleinschmidt, no match for them, so she finished 4th ahead of Fontenay today. Peter Hansel had a decent straight line speed, but even his Mega, no match for the men in the blue buggies. Serbia was passing them, so was Schlesser himself. They were in their element.
Gap 100.
On board with Schlesser, even time to take a stretch. Looking comfortable at high speeds, in excess of 160 kilometers an hour. The Mitsubishi's stuck in 5th gear yet again in the soft stuff. The buggies just gliding over in a straight line, unbeatable. Schlesser finishing the day in 5 hours, 10 minutes, just ahead of Serbia, Peter Hansel and Kleinschmidt. Crucially, Shinazuka was down on the pace, 20 minutes and 40 seconds behind Schlesser. It meant Schlesser is top of the pile, with Shinazuka slipping down even behind Peter Hansel. Now second, 10 minutes off Schlesser's pace. And so, from Waha all the way to Kofra, a special of 610 kilometers. And what a day this was to turn out to be. A day of straight racing on the bikes. It was to prove to be a fast one. A mass start, 40 by 40 they left. Nobody holding their machines back. At the first checkpoint, guess what? Roma and Sainz in together. Sainz arriving first, almost hand in hand with his arch rival. Roma, though, was having starter trouble. Alfie Cox spared us a few words.
Just the starter, one turn. It's not a problem just to push the bike to make it start.
Well, pushing they did. They even kicked him off. That's how keen KTM were to maintain their lead overall ahead of Sainz. So with the help of Cox and Co, Roma underway. Ahead of him, the BMWs were having fun. Jimmy Lewis was leading all 4 of them. Navigation, no problem today. The technical parts slowing them down a little. They were winding it wide open when it got straight. And indeed, it turned out to be a shootout by the end between Jimmy Lewis and Alfie Cox. Lewis taking it just 2 seconds clear of Cox. But crucially, Sainz and Roma finishing together 5 and 6. Roma still leading Sainz by almost 22 minutes overall. So what turned out to be a nice, calm and even a gentlemanly affair on the bikes, overshadowed, I'm sad to say, by what happened on 4 wheels. The cars also with a mass start, not so many of them though, 6 by 6, and the main contenders all bunched together. They were ahead of this group, the chasing pack, which crucially included the Mitsubishis. This the day their team was to be decimated. It was Savvy that found them. 30 seconds after the accident, they had flown, literally, their cars tumbling. There were injuries aplenty, some far worse than others. Shinazuka involved, so was Prieto, Souza and Demevius. We spoke to Demevius, injured with a compound fracture of a vertebrae. He says we all came over together. Sousa was ahead. Then it was me, followed by the other two. The impact, he said, was very hard indeed. And I can tell you that 3 of them ended up needing neurosurgery, seriously injured. They were, only one escaping with light injuries. Well, the race was going on ahead of them. The leading 6 completely unaware of what had gone on behind. Schlesser playing catch-up with Peter Hansel. It was more windy today, and Peter Hansel took advantage. Chinot out of the running. Peter up into 2nd place behind Schlesser. 8 minutes and 56 seconds down on the leader. And so to leg 14, race day number 10 on this year's Dakar, and a very long special of 789 kilometers all the way to Dakar. Another mass starts, but this the day that Roma's race unravels literally underneath him. The battle between himself and Sight looked to be over. Sight saying that the Dakar just seemed a little too short for him to catch up. Well, how wrong he proved to be. Roma, his engine, it was to blow. He had tried to effect a repair, but there was nothing but consolation that was on offer. Jürgen Meyer stopping to share a few words. Roma, the leader, suddenly became an also-ran. He spoke to us by his machine. Everything was coming together, he said, all the way. We've had no problems. Even the stage was looking good. But then the engine just failed. It's terrible luck. Every day you go over rocks without any problem. There's absolutely no reason for it to go now. On another Dakar, things wouldn't be like this. It would be very different indeed. I just have to try now and get to Cairo. Ahead of Roma, the race is still going on, and BMW were having party time. Gallardo, Sight, Brucey, and ahead of them all, Jimmy Lewis. BMW's 1, 2, 3, and 4 on this day. Sight, clear leader, ahead of Gallardo overall by 44 minutes and 29 seconds. People were saying the Dakar was already over. Well, we've heard that before. Ask Roma. Things much tighter in the car class. The favourites all starting together, and you could see almost from the off that the buggies had an advantage. Peter Hansel had said that when the course was more technical, he wished he'd taken further advantage on board the Mega. Now things were speeding up. You could see that the buggies had it all their own way. Sure, there were twists and turns as the scenery got ever more beautiful. But as soon as the flat stuff arrived, the buggies just opened up, and it was always going to be between Servia and Schlesser. Peter Hansel, he was playing a game of damage limitation. He finished the day in 3rd place, 4 minutes and 24 off Servia's winning time. Jean-Louis Schlesser was to finish just 4 seconds behind his teammate, taking a back seat for once and letting him through. You can see on the straight line speed that the Mega just didn't have the legs to keep up. It was the story of the day. Fontenay leading the Mitsubishi Team Challenge, 4th behind Peter Hansel, 5 minutes and 33 seconds off the winning time. Mitsubishi playing a bit part on the day. Matsuoka trying his best. He was 5th, ahead of the Nissan of Delaverne. Jutta Kleinschmidt, she picked up a puncture, lost 5 minutes, she said. That crucial on the day. She finished 7th to stay 5th overall behind Servia. Fontenay 3rd, Peter Hansel trailing Schlesser by 13 minutes and 16 seconds. Yes, Mitsubishi still trying to wipe from their minds that accident that decimated the field as far as they were concerned. They put on a brave face. And so to what was to prove to be the most beautiful day on the Dakar so far, 352 kilometers of special in a circular route from Dakar and back again. Egypt revealing its finest scenery to those lucky enough still to be racing. It was a mixed stage with high-speed sections and some technical parts as well. Everyone commenting on just what a wonderful day it was. BMW, they were taking it easy, psyched, easing back the privilege of being in the lead by such a margin. Time then for the challengers to take centre stage, and Esteve Puyol it was that was to win it on this day. Almost ran out of fuel as he was on reserve for the last 50 kilometers. He said he was just glad to get home. Never mind win the stage. Puyol finishing ahead of the privateer, P.G. Lundmark from Sweden. Lundmark doing all his own repairs. The best result for a man operating alone on this Dakar. Here's the Swede, 14th overall. He can be proud of that. The field, they were just having fun. On four wheels, the buggies were trying as best they could. A more technical day, however, saw Schlesser and indeed Servia further down the list. Schlesser crucially finished with exactly the same time as Peter Hansel, thus maintaining his lead at exactly the same mark as he'd started the day. 13 minutes and 16 seconds. Schlesser's advantage overall. Time to enjoy the scenery. As for Peter Hansel, he knew this was his last realistic chance to put some space between himself and Schlesser. It wasn't to be. The day was to belong to Mitsubishi, bringing some cheer to this camp at long last. Kleinschmidt, she finished third on the day. 2 minutes and 19 seconds down on the leading pace, fifth overall behind Servia. Matsuoka said he judged it perfectly with low tyre pressure in the morning, then inflating later on in the faster sections. Matsuoka's strategy paying off, finishing this stage second behind his teammate, Jean-Pierre Fontenay. Fontenay's winning time, 3 hours, 2 minutes, 52 seconds, underlining his status as a man in podium position, third overall, 29 minutes of Schlesser's leading time. No doubt, though, about the dramatic moment of the day, witnessed by Juan Roma, who's had his own troubles. Delavan taking a multiple tumble. He hit a bump at 160 kilometers an hour. Front tire blew, and over he went. It was a miracle that nobody was hurt. Equally so, that the car was okay. He said two cars were in front of us, masking a bump. We hit it, had a blowout, and when we landed, over we went. Amazing that they were unhurt, and indeed that the car simply needed a change of wheel. Yes, a credit to the strength of the Nissan, and a relief to everyone coming as it does so soon after that four-car accident in the dunes. And so to the penultimate stage of Dakar 2000, the last day of real racing. A special of 416 kilometers to Wadi Rayyan. Well, Richard Sykes has nothing to prove to anybody suffering from influenza. 7th on this day, and barring catastrophe, sure to successfully defend his title. Others had something to prove. Juan Roma, long-time leader in this Dakar. He was to win it on the day in fine style. In fact, it was KTM's 1, 2, and 3 with the old soldier. Alfie Cox in second place, 11 minutes and 25 off Roma's winning time. Cox was fast, so, as he has been throughout the Dakar, was Jimmy Lewis. This machine's supposed to be for development purposes only. Won a couple of stages, looking good once again. Fourth on this day, the highest placed BMW. But the wonder of the Dakar in its closing phase is Peggy Lundmark of Sweden, proving that yesterday's second place was no fluke. He came home ahead of Lewis, just behind Cox. Cox even paying tribute to him. It was another great ride from the man with the pack on his back. Yes, it's been a mixed rally for Jutta Klein-Schmidt. She's had her problems, radiators, punctures, as ever. Today, she finished in 6th place, just to show that she's still in there. 5th overall for the woman in red. Minor place is not the concern of champion-elect Jean-Louis Schlesser. Out to ensure that Peter Hansel didn't get the jump on him on this last racing day. Peter Hansel was pushing hard, but only managed to trim a minute of Schlesser's leading time overall. Schlesser going into the final day with a lead of 12 minutes and 14 seconds over Petter. The battle also raging for 3rd place, an all-important place on the podium. Fortney determined to make it his. Well, it was a fast stage, not particularly suited to the Mitsubishis. Fortney just wanting to stay in touch with Serbia, get ahead of him if he could. It wasn't to be. The difference between the two, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Serbia trimming Fortney's time, but Fortney still leading by 11.5 minutes for that crucial 3rd spot on the Dakar. Yes, Serbia pushing hard. The day suited to the buggies, but it just couldn't get far enough ahead of Fortney. So used to playing second fiddle in this team to Schlesser, the maestro. Today, Serbia, again, given the reins. Yes, he was to finish second behind Matsuoka. The man in the silver bullets, taking the day, finishing 6th overall. And so to the grand finale of Dakar 2000, a liaison of 135 kilometers, racing a special of just 10. Well, it's been a long and arduous journey for many. The champions in waiting, quite rightly, heading for their prizes. Richard Sykes paying tribute to Roma on the run-in. 3 days before the end, he said, I thought the race was all over, was lost to Roma. But I took my chance when it came to me. And now, I'm a winner. A winner he certainly is, and a very good one, as are the entire BMW team. Gallardo, 2nd place, ahead of Jimmy Lewis. Brucey making up the 1, 2, 3, 4. The champagne still flowing. On the cars, Jean-Louis Schlesser, of course. 45 hours, 6 minutes and 3 seconds to complete Dakar 2000. 2 in a row for Schlesser, as it had been for Sykes. Peter Hansel gunning for it on the day. 2nd overall, 12 minutes and 33 of Schlesser's winning time by the race end. Fortney making the podium, 27 and 33 down on Schlesser. A battle to the end with Serbia. Botnay won it. Serbia, he'd hoped for that podium place. Jean-Louis on hand to help his celebrations. A great result, 1 and 4 for the team. Kleinschmidt home in 5th place overall. Disappointed with her performance. More next time. Smiles today though. And Matsuoka, 6th, also in a Mitsubishi. They've had a troubled time in this Dakar. Today, it was about celebrations and tributes to their fallen teammates. Sabi bouncing home in the Ford for 7th place ahead of Delavere. A long race, a tough race. That was Dakar 2000.